New Yorkers traditionally celebrated New Year's the way they do in a lot of big cities. They'd gather around major churches, mostly Trinity Church on Lower Broadway. They'd listen silently, and at exactly midnight the bells would ring. That's actually where we get the expression ringing in the new year. Now, the publisher of the Times, right after he'd moved his paper up here to Times Square, decided, quite logically, that he could get some great publicity for his paper by changing the way New Yorkers celebrate the new year. He thought that New Yorkers would much prefer to see a spectacular fireworks display rather than listening to some silly bells ring. And he was right. He advertised the display heavily, and tens of thousands of people showed up for that first display, New Year's Eve, 1904. The next year's show was an even greater success. More than twice as many people came, and the crowd kept growing in the next year. Unfortunately, right before the fourth annual display, disaster struck. Some pencil pusher down at City Hall decided, you know, it's not really safe to light thousands of explosives above a huge crowd of people all wearing wool. It's a fire hazard. People are going to get hurt. You're not allowed to do it. The Times' publisher was irate. He begged the city for permission to keep going, but the city would not relent. They said he had to think of something else, and he thought desperately. He had only a couple weeks until New Year's. Couldn't think of anything, and finally, desperately thinks, why don't we drop a lighted ball? This is a total desperation thought because, you know, if you think about it, dropping a lighted ball is not really a lot more exciting than listening to some bells ring. But New Yorkers were apparently in the habit of coming here because they came here for that first lighted ball drop, and they have kept coming here ever since. If you want to learn more about Times Square, the Theater District, Grand Central, or the United Nations, try our Midtown tour.